What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, and on Zoom, we are here with Max of the Almighty Krisiun. Thank you so much for being here today, man. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Alex. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been so long since Krisiun has been in New York, too. The last time I saw Krisiun was on the Suffocation Tour back in 2018. So, first question I want to ask you is when are you coming back
2018.
to the U.S.?
Oh, you're gonna be back very soon. We are about to announce a tour in the States, which is gonna happen very soon. And but I'm not allowed to announce right now. But in a few days, we're gonna be announcing a tour, and it's gonna be happening in the next few months. It's gonna be a killer tour with another killer band. So stay tuned.
All right, you'll tell me when I turn the recorder off.
All right, yeah, I'll do.
But it's so good to have you here and a great time to return to the U.S. because we have Mortem Soils coming out very soon. Was Mortem
Yes.
Solis intended to just kind of be picking up where he left off after Scourge of the Enthroned, or was this meant to be like a new beginning for Krisiun in a way?
Yeah, I would say it is both because Scourge of the Throne for us was kind of getting back to what the band really is. Since Forged and Fury, it is a good album, but we're trying something a little bit different here and there. We slow down a little bit. We're trying to, just trying something a little bit different. Still, it is Krisiun, but I would say that Scourge of the Throne is more like it carries out the true essence of the band, which is like it's faster, it's more straightforward, or whatever. And then Mortem Solis is even more. I would say like the new one is more Krisiun than anything we did, like on Scourge of the Throne or the previous ones. So yeah, for us it's both. It's like a new beginning for us because after this crazy pandemic, we're coming back energized and full of energy and inspiration. So we just feel the vibe and the feeling, and we wanted to make this album as fast and brutal and straightforward and crazy as possible. But definitely, Scourge of the Intron definitely was a step for us to come from Fortune and Fury to the new one. Was Scourge of the Intron is a step in between those two albums, and definitely to us, to me, I think that the new one, Mortem Solis, absolutely represents and carries out the true essence of the band. It is a mix between the older stuff, like from Black Force Domain, Apocalypse, Revelation, Conquerors of Armageddon, all of the brutal, fast, crazy stuff, with the newer stuff, with the more mature, more experienced band. But the vibe and the feeling is the same.
Do you feel that maybe the first two singles that you released off of Mortem Solus, Sworn Enemies and Serpent Messiah, is a good representation of what the whole album is going to sound like, or is there a lot more to be discovered on Mortem Solus?
It's a lot more, man. It's a lot more. It's to me, Serpent Messiah. It has a more modern approach. It's like heavier riff and it's some new elements there. But it is Christian. It is brutal, fast, and straightforward. And Sworn Enemies. It has more of the traditional death metal, more classic death metal stuff, especially with guitars and the riffs and vocals, and some of the influences from the 80s. You can tell some parts here and there, uh, but definitely it doesn't show uh, everything that there is in the album. There's much more going on. It's definitely a very angry, brutal album, but there's a lot of more elements to be known.
Definitely. And that's what I've always found fascinating about Krisiun. And being that Krisiun now has so many albums between Black Force Domain to now, it almost seems like, does it get like harder to put a set list together when you're playing live? Because I know that your diehard fans probably want to hear like a couple songs off of every album.
Yeah, exactly, man. A lot of people complain that sometimes we play the same songs in our sets, like play like Blood of Lions, uh, Slain Steel, Kings of Killing, and people complain, you always play those songs over. I would like to listen to something like different, this or that song. But when we don't play those songs, people are always asking, please play Blood of Lions or play Black Force Domain or Kings of Killing. So it's always a little bit tricky, but yeah, it's hard to put out like a few songs from every album. Sometimes like especially before the pandemic, we are touring constantly, like everywhere, and I had no breaks in between the tours, so it was really hard to change the the live set in the middle of the tour. Because sometimes it takes some time to you have to learn the songs again. Especially the old songs, you have to learn them again and make sure they are good enough to be played live. So yeah, it's always hard. But now we are having after this crazy pandemic, we had our time to I would say like learn a lot of the songs we haven't been playing for many years. So the new live show will be different from the last tour. Definitely, there's going to be some of the same songs, but there's going to be a lot of stuff we haven't played in a while.
And we look forward to hearing some of those deep cuts, especially because like I feel like there's a lot to celebrate in the Krisian camp. Because we were all celebrating that fellow Brazilian metalers Sepultura played Beneath the Remains and Arise in its entirety,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but
yeah,
I do consider like Angels of Venomous from 2001. Last year was the 20-year anniversary of that, and next year
right,
is the
right, yeah.
20-year anniversary of Works of Carnage. Can we maybe like see some anniversary tours or something like that? I think Works of Carnage is like I consider that a death metal classic in my personal opinion. Maybe
Thank
bring
you,
some deep
thank
cuts
you.
from that.
Appreciate, man. Yeah, yeah. Appreciate, man. Yeah, we never thought about it. Maybe I don't know, man. Maybe sometime we're gonna do something like this to play like the whole album, or maybe just pick up like like 4 or 5 songs and put it on the set. We never really thought about it, but it's definitely something that we should give more attention and try to do something like this in the future. Even like a Black Force Domain or Conquerors of Armageddon. People always ask about Conquerors of Armageddon. You guys should play the whole album. We'll
Yeah.
see, man. Maybe we do something like this in the future.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, as a fan, can you just tell me with Works of Carnage being 20 years next year, what like the memory was in the Krisian camp from that time period? What was Krisian sort of going through
Oh
in
yeah, yeah,
2003?
absolutely. Um, I remember that before Works of Carnage, we released Ageless Venomous, and a lot of people did not like that album, especially because the production, the sound on that album was so dry and clean, and because we were trying to do something different. We're like, man, because the songs and the they are all brutal and fast. It's Krisiun. It's a little bit more technical. I'd say there's a lot of guitar work, a lot of crazy guitar work. The vocals are brutal, and the drums is just like lots of blast beats and double bass. But basically, the production uh, was not that good, and I have to agree with the people that don't like it. People are like complaining, this sounds weird. And then after Ageless Venomous, we are so angry about it that when we did Works of Carnage, we're like, man, let's make this album as brutal, as nasty and savage and raw as possible. And you can see that the songs and works of Carnage are short songs and angry, and the production is raw and natural. And that's what I remember when we were writing works of Carnage. We are angry. We're like, man, let's show that uh, we're gonna release this new album is gonna be furious, it's gonna be nasty and savage, and then we did one of the very few albums that we recorded here in Brazil was Works of Carnage, um, and uh, and then after Works of Carnage, we just all the next albums we did in Germany, some in North America, and the new one was again recorded in Brazil. So maybe there's a connection between Works of Carnage and Mortem Solis. They're both like coming back with a lot of fury and angry, and so that's this. You can relate. Both albums were done, recorded here in Brazil, and they the same are have this vibe of a Krisiun is coming back, more brutal and faster.
I've always thought that while I without a doubt call Krisiun a death metal band, you definitely have that relentlessness. I do see some punk incorporated in Krisiun as well. Maybe it's because you're a three piece. I do see
Definitely.
that sort of like, and with Works of Carnage, because they were so short, that also had its more punk vibe behind it as well. Does Krisiun take like inspirations from multiple different music genres outside of the realm of heavy metal?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I totally agree that we have this punk vibe. Like as I said, the real Krisiun, the true essence of the band, it has to be raw and crazy and not so because you see a lot of death metal bands they become too technical, too clean, too overproduced, and I mean nothing against it. That to me as a fan, it's kind of boring because I want to hear a band that you can hear not the mistakes but the human vibe behind the music, and that's what we try. The way we record the album is kind of punk because we never use a click. We don't to overproduce or editing and stuff. We keep the way it is. If there's some mistakes here and there, I mean not like real mistakes, but you can tell that the album sometimes we play the same riff, go sometimes we play a little bit slower, sometimes faster. It's just like playing a live show. So basically that's what we do in the studio. Like when I record the drums, Moises is right there in front of me playing guitar, and we feel like we're jamming. And to me, that's pure punk vibe. We feel like we're playing in our practice room, sweating. We don't stop. We do one take because we want to keep that vibe in the sound and in the music. We don't want it to go too clean or too technical, all that boring stuff. Nothing against it, but that's the way we are. We have this punk. We have the old school. A lot of influences from the 80s thrash death metal. When you hear the albums, we're nasty, we're raw and savage. And nowadays, sometimes you hear even the same bands, you hear their new albums, it sounds generic, overproduced, too clean. So we try to keep that vibe, the punk vibe, the punk attitude of not going too clean or too technical, all that shit.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that too because the first time I ever saw Krisiun was at Summer Slaughter in 2016, which by the way
Okay.
that was the best lineup for Summer Slaughter, and I will fight anybody on that. But
Yeah, that was amazing.
yep, every band on that bill, from Suffocation to Revocation to Cannibal Corpse, all great.
Nile,
Yep, Nile, the
Cannibal
last
Corpse.
the
Yep.
last tour with Dallas Toller Wade too. But what I've noticed with Krisian's set was you guys were the rawest band on that bill. I think like you had like the most raw essence. Like even though you played on like the main stage and kind of like that big room, you took the big room at Webster Hall and you turned it into CBGBs that day.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's a compliment, man.
Yeah, yeah. Like you
It's a
you
big compliment.
shrunk that room into having a punk vibe, while as the other bands kind of created a
Yeah.
atmosphere and another reality. And I think both worked out great.
Cool. Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's part of our style to keep the raw and the savage vibe, and
Definitely.
not go to too clinical.
Yeah. you succeed in that.
That's
And you
what we
mentioned
are.
too you recorded like
Thank
in
you.
different studios all over the world too, from Brazil to North America to recording in Germany. Do you has maybe like recording in different parts of the world also maybe influenced the album, being around different scenery and different cultures and different atmospheres?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think so. I mean, most of the albums uh, we did in Germany with the same studio, same producer. We did like maybe 4 or 5 albums with Andy Klassen in studio at the Studio One, no, Stage One Studio, sorry, in Germany. Because when we did Assassination, the result was everybody was impressed with the result. Actually, we did Conquerors of Armageddon with him, and then we came back for Assassination, then Southern Storm, The Great Execution, and then after The Great Execution, we did with Eric Rutan in Florida, which and then after that we came back to Andy for Scourge of the Enthroned. So basically, most of our albums we did with the same producer, same studio, and we always like the results. But sometimes we feel like we need a little bit, change a little bit and try somebody else to see. Because to me, like a producer, he's like an artist too. He's gonna put his heart and his vision on the band. He's just gonna be there to trying to do his best as a producer, but he doesn't have the power to make extreme changes in the structure of our music. So, Andy always respect that. Eric Rutan did respect a lot, and Mark Lewis did the same. Totally respect what we are. He kept the raw and the brutal vibe, and because I know some producers they like to change the truest essence of the bands they do, and definitely we felt always we are always inspired by the environment and places where we are, and like our recording in Florida was amazing. We're there in the you know in the place where so many killer bands started.
The death
A lot
metal
of bands that
capital of the
inspired
world.
us, like Morbid Angel D side, Cannibal Corpse, Death, so we're like, man, this is sacred ground. So it's always, and in Germany, it's the same for us. I mean, we we grew up listening to so many classic metal German bands, and Germans they are so metal. All the bands like Sodom, Creator, Running Wild, Destruction, Accept. So it's we feel the vibe all the time we go. It's important to when you go record or play somewhere else to respect and understand the vibe of the place where we are. So yeah, definitely we always feel the vibe and always totally respect to the place where we are recording. And
Definitely.
here in Brazil, it's our it's our country. I mean, we grew up here in the streets, getting drunk and getting into fights with in the streets because like 80s and 90s here was like the Warriors movie.
Oh
We
wow.
would go to a show, to a metal show, and get drunk and get into fights with the stupid people in the streets, all that kind. So it's the same. And here, of course, so many bands inspired us, like Old Sepultura, Sarcophago, Mutilator, Dorsal Atlântica, Ratos de Porão. So we always get the vibe, man.
Definitely. I feel that 100% with every album. I wanted to talk a little bit about your approach to drumming too, having that sort of punk rock vibe behind it. Because
Right.
you mentioned you're not playing the clicks and everything, which kudos to you for that. But do you prefer to have music from your other band members to present it to you before you start laying down drum patterns? Or have you ever like had a whole drum pattern that maybe Alex and everybody would kind of like write according to?
Well, it, we don't follow any rules like when we start writing stuff, and I think we created that the chemistry and the identity for Krisiun. Everybody put in their own vision together. Like for example, uh, the idea. Usually Moises comes up with the riffs, and ideas for songs, but it never tells me like, you should play this part, do this beat or that beat. It just shows me, and I'm free to create my own parts, and we start building the song together. So yeah, basically he shows me the riffs, the ideas, and then I think about the what drum pattern or what drum beat I would play there, and usually we keep the the Krisiun identity that basically I always try to bring the storm and the furious blast beats to songs, and and that has a lot to do with this punk attitude we have, because it's just like in our vision as a band, I know some of the songs we care more about details and structure, but some songs that you have to be like straightforward, like a punch in the face, and we sometimes we cut off what we think is not necessary, like and make it short and straightforward with the punk attitude, but the Christian way. So yeah, sometimes I can come up with some drum pattern, like and Moises just hear what I'm playing and then start writing a riff over the drum pattern. It happens sometimes, but usually he comes up with the riffs and ideas, and then I'm free to play uh, what I think fits to the song. It's the same. We have a lot of freedom here, but of course we share the same vision. It would be weird if Moises would show me like a riff from let's say a Sworn Enemy, and I would play like a skunk beat. He'd say, "What the fuck, man? Play your blasphemy." So basically, we share the same vision, so we are very connected with that.
It's funny you mentioned Sworn Enemy. I mean, I know you're referring to the single, but I just saw Sworn Enemy this past Sunday, the hardcore band too. So it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah, I see. Some band that have the same
Yeah,
song title or
it happens all the
something
time.
like this.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is tying back to the sort of punk rock attitude of Krisiun, because without a doubt, with the two times I've seen Krisiun live, it is without a doubt as punk rock and raw and brutal as it gets. But when you're in the studio, it is sometimes a more confined environment. Like you can't exactly have mosh pits and crowd killing in a room with expensive gear
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. So like, is it at all when you're songwriting? Is it and you're tracking it? Is it a little bit difficult to sort of capture that punk rock energy if you're like recording it in kind of like a more static environment?
Dude, it's a very, very good question. Just did, because I think a lot about it, especially before recording. And when ready at the studio, warming up, getting ready for recording, I try to capture the vibe of playing live and just go crazy. Sometimes I'm recording and I'm head banging and feeling it, because if I'm not feeling the song, if I'm just playing there, like, sorry, just playing my parts, like, it's not right. I know it's not going to be right. So as I told you before, uh, recording Mortem Solis, I was like Moises right in front of me in the same room. So basically, I need to hear the guitars and see the guitarist playing in front of me, so I can feel the song. I get the vibe. And that makes me feel more the music I'm playing and just go crazy. And it to me is very necessary. I can play um, just like be like this technical drummer and playing whatever, and like no feeling. To me, the feeling is, and the passion and the heart is the main thing. And when I play and I record a track, and I was like, man, yes, I was feeling it. So that's good enough. Even sometimes there's some mistakes. It's not that fast or not that whatever. It's not that clean. But when I get the vibe and I get the feeling, that's when the track is good for me. The attitude, and I think people can hear that. Hear the album and say, man, those guys were angry when they were recording.
Yeah.
You feel the vibe there. And to me, it's very important when I'm preparing myself to record. It's very physical and very mental too, but the vibe, it's the main thing for me. When I sit there and I feel ready, okay, let's go for it. I try to feel like I'm playing show.
Definitely. And regardless of what Krisiun album I'm listening to, whether it is this new one with Mortem Solis, Scourge of the Enthroned, or like Apocalyptic Revelation, regardless, in the end, it is Krisiun, it is raw, it is brutal, and it is in your face. So
Thank you.
you
Appreciate it.
succeed in
Means a
that.
lot, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. Before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today and for a great conversation. It feels great to catch up with Krisiun. I interviewed Alex 4 years ago at the Suffocation gig. It's great to be able to talk
Right. Nice.
talk rhythm and everything. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote with the release of Mortem Solis? You mentioned you have a U.S. tour coming very soon. Is there just anything else that you are
Yeah,
allowed to talk
very
about?
soon. Yeah,
Yeah.
so stay tuned. Very in a few days, we're going to be announcing our North American tour. It's going to be with another killer band. So I'm sure people people will be happy to see us with this killer band. And we have a new video coming up very soon too, a new single before we release the album. The album's going to be out on the 29th, July 29th. So yeah, thank you very much for the great support to you and to all the people that have supported us everywhere. You know, without your support, we're nothing. The band would never exist. And I would be doing something else, but not playing and not releasing an album. So thank you very much. And I hope to see you all on the road.
Absolutely. And death metal fans, we always know how to support. Where I've always said death metal, evil music for
Yeah.
good people.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly, man.
Yep.
It's true loyal. We are loyal to each other and we stick together.
There are no
Stick together and we're strong.
there are no strangers at a death metal show. It's just friends we haven't made yet.
Exactly. Usually that's what I said. That people miss to go into the shows not just because they want to see the band, but when you go to an underground death metal show, it's just like family, the real family getting back together, a bunch of friends sharing beers, enjoying the music, enjoying life, enjoying real life.
Yep.
That's our lifestyle, the death metal lifestyle, to go to the shows and see our friends and have a good time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Max. Everybody, we are here with Max of
Thank you, my
Krisiun.
brother.
Be sure to
I
check
see
out.
you soon, man.
Absolutely. Be sure to check out
Yeah.
Mortem Solis coming out via Century Media July 29th. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.